Joined by Senator Tom Cotton. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. Happy early Merry Christmas to you and your listeners.
Yeah. Hey, tax reform. Some concerns about that continuing to come out about it. Some of the debt adding to the deficit there, some of the unknowns. Are you still on board with the plan?
Yes, Kevin. So the Senate passed our bill about 10 days ago, and now we're working with the House to reconcile their differences. There are some and important, but at the fundamental level, I think we're in agreement, and I believe hopefully by the end of this week they'll produce a bill that resolves some of those differences. I think whatever it turns out to be, it's going to be good for Arkansas families and businesses. It's going to put more money in the pockets of Arkansas families starting next month, and most of our big employers in Arkansas are going to see a pretty big tax break, which means that they can start putting more money into longer shifts or more factories and stores, hiring more workers. So all in all, I think it's going to be a very big success for the people of Arkansas.
Senator Tom Cotton, some information out this morning, too, that talked about concerns from trading partners, saying that it will allow for double taxation on products and it may breach trade agreements. With tax reform and something this big, how does the negotiation work out? Are things that are in the bill right now necessarily going to stay when it gets to its final form?
Yeah, so Kevin, maybe the best analogy would be imagine a funnel. 6 months ago, very big, lots of ideas in the mix, lots of big ideas in the mix. There was one that might have had that kind of impact, Kevin. It's called the so-called border adjustment tax. And as the president liked to say, as he told me once, that just means your taxes are going to get adjusted higher. That would have meant every Arkansan was going to be paying more for the stuff that they bought at Walmart, which most Arkansans can't afford to do. I helped kill that idea, make sure that it was not a part of any tax bill. Then it goes to the House, it goes to the Senate, it gets further down the funnel. Now we're down kind of at the bottom of the funnel, really trying to iron out just a few discrete differences. So, for instance, the House bill has 4 brackets for individual taxpayers. The Senate bill has 7. That's not a debate over grand principles and fundamental ideas. That's really just a matter of splitting differences. Those are negotiable differences on which we can compromise. And that's why I'm pretty hopeful that we're going to get a good bill sometime later this week or early next week.
Kevin Miller along with Senator Tom Cotton on News Radio 102.9 KARN. Senator, for feedback from voters, whether they call your office or any office there in the Senate or they send an email, how much does that weigh into the debate? It
weighs in a lot, Kevin. We got a lot of feedback about that border adjustment tax back in the spring. Most recently, we've been getting very strong, very positive feedback about my efforts to repeal the individual mandate of Obamacare. To remind your listeners, that caused 65,000 Arkansas families last year to pay a fine to the IRS because they couldn't afford their health insurance. We also get feedback on very particular kinds of tax situations. Everyone is affected by the tax code, whether they're an individual or a small business or a big business, and we want to make sure that any unique or peculiar situation that Arkansas taxpayers face are accounted for within the tax bill. I've been working with my colleagues who are on the tax writing committees to address those things. The good news is that usually that's impacted other people as well. The forestry industry is important in Arkansas, but not just in Arkansas. It's important throughout the Southeast and in Oregon and Washington and Maine and so forth. So normally we can find good allies on those discrete issues that impact Arkansas in a peculiar fashion and get that resolved.
Senator Tom Cotton on News Radio 102.9 KARN. Right now, all eyes on Alabama, the Senate race there. Your feeling?
Well, I think the polls have opened in Alabama, so the voters of Alabama are going to make that decision over the next 12 hours, and we'll see what happens. It's very hard to predict these elections, especially when they're a special election, so I wouldn't hazard a guess. We will see tonight, and then we'll go from there.
Roy Moore, should he be in the Senate if the accusations are true?
Well, if the people of Alabama elect Roy Moore, we really have no choice but to seat him. There's a direct and controlling Supreme Court case that says when you are elected by the people of your state, the Senate and the House cannot refuse to seat you as long as you meet the basic constitutional requirements in terms of age and residency and citizenship. If he is in the Senate, like any other member of the Senate, if someone lodges a complaint against him at the Ethics Committee, then the Ethics Committee will review those allegations, and we won't have trial by newspaper anymore. We'll have an actual fact-finding body that can gather evidence from testimony and from documents and so forth, and we can evaluate the facts as we find them, and that's a more appropriate venue to do that kind of fact-finding inquiry than the newspaper is.
Senator Tom Cotton, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
829 News Radio 102.9 KARN.